Hello there, Eagles fans, and welcome back to our Eagles Therapy Podcast. My name is Basil.
And I'm Baz.
And we are recording Saturday, December 30th, 2023, a couple days before New Year's, a day before the Eagles and Cardinals face off up in Philadelphia. Dad, how you feeling?
I'm feeling good. I'm very happy to be here, and I'm glad that we're back and getting ready for the last game of the year. Let's hope that it's a good one. We've had a kind of a rough season so far this year, and we're hoping that we have a nice little candy game here in front of us. Hopefully we can make it happen. Last week, we had that early lead, and then we know what happened there. So let's
Isn't that funny?
Hang with it.
Yeah, isn't that funny? 11-4, and that's a rough season.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, it's funny. It's definitely tough, but everyone knows what I'm talking about. You big Eagle fans out there, you know that we've not had a nice cake game. So, I don't anticipate this one either. Like we were saying last week, I don't believe any of the games are going to be easy, or even, the kind where you can just kind of go take a smoke break during the game. It's going to be commercials only today.
Yeah.
Tomorrow.
Nice thing that I'm most excited for, of course, is going to be that the game's at 11, which we'll as always talk about. But very nice to getting back to the old game times, the good old game times. I can't stand playing in the afternoon. I hate primetime games. I just love having that nice morning game, get it out of the way, get a W, and then the rest of the day you can be happy. If you get a loss, the rest of the day you can sulk and cry. I like having it planned out. I don't like having a morning of nothing. You know what I mean?
No, I agree.
I just stress.
I mean, and it's just something about the regular time game. This year, just throw it out the window. I can't remember. We had one against the Commanders, I believe, in week 2. That was a Minnesota game. But
so we had 2 regular scheduled games, both against Washington.
But that's awful.
Both were against Washington. That's crazy.
Yeah. So I'm looking forward to that early morning, early afternoon game, and then you have stuff to do the rest of the night. I can be home. I can watch games. You may help make dinner.
Yep.
Get all that stuff. Of course, now we're in that part of the year where it's decorations taking down time, and that's always a depressing part of this thing. So at least we'll be home early and not running in here like we are at 9:00 at night. That's the part I hate.
Yeah. All right. Well, as always, before we jump into it, we are part of the Philadelphia Eagles fan club in Colorado Springs. We watch every single game at Frankie's Bar and Grill here in Colorado Springs on Powers and Galley. Come on down. We'd love to watch with you. If you're an Eagles fan, go ahead and join the Facebook group. We'd love to have and expand this group a little bit more and get to meet everyone and just have a great time watching those games. So as always, come on down to Frankie's and join that Philadelphia Eagles fan club in Colorado Springs. We're going to start off today, as always, talking about the Eagles and Cardinals matchup coming up. Going to be playing Sunday morning. Well, morning for us.
Yes.
1 p.m. Eastern time, 11 o'clock for us here in Colorado Springs time. Just excited to get back to that. But, Dad, what do you have for our weather watch?
Well, it looks like it's going to be another crisp day. It's not going to be too cold. We're looking at a high of 45. So we're looking at, at the 1 o'clock start, you're looking at around probably 40 degrees, warm up to 45 degrees, 5 to 10 winds, 0% chance of rain.
Yay.
So it's one of those crisp late December games. Funny thing, it's getting this season's wrapping up already. It's hard to believe. We were talking about fall just a few months ago, and here it is already. Just 2 games left on the docket before the playoffs start.
Yeah.
It'd be great. It's a great time for the people that are going to the game.
Yeah.
Your Christmas is over. Those that got the tickets for this weekend's game. It's always that way. You got a lot of people get the holiday presents, and a lot of the fans start selling those tickets at the end of the year so that they can go do their thing and make a little extra bucks. But I saw some of the ticket prices weren't very high, so pretty cool. About $200 a game. You can get out there and go watch a game, and
I know
a little bit cheaper out here in Denver now, but especially with all the changes made here. But
I know you and I were bummed that it wasn't going to be in Arizona because we were kind of like,
thought about
if it's in Phoenix, man, we'll go. We'll go back home and visit and go watch the Eagles win. But yeah, it's a bummer that it's in Philly. I can't afford another trip like that. But
it
would have been nice to go to Phoenix this time of year, especially with the weather. It's unbelievable.
Yeah, we just got back and we drove down on Tuesday, day after Christmas. No traffic at all. Perfect time to just take a nice drive. Everybody's already home from the holidays, so we just cruised in, go down there for a few days, came back.
Yeah.
Would have been nice. The temperature is beautiful down there, of course.
And to touch on the funny thing, we're talking about the season wrapping up. This is our 32nd episode, which is kind of crazy to think about. I can't believe it.
Kidding. Well,
it's so weird.
we did start prior to game one, so that was
makes sense.
Pre and post game show.
Yeah,
so
we did a bonus episode of the pod, the bye week episode, stuff like that. So it's kind of cool.
Yes, for sure.
Going into the all-time series record, frustratingly, my dad talked about it before. He was pretty upset. Cardinals do lead the all-time series 60, 57, and 5. We've had 5 ties. They have won 60 games. We won 57. In the postseason, the Cardinals lead us there. We won our first championship against the Cardinals back in 48. But the year before that, in 47, the Cardinals beat us in the championship. And then in 2008, we played in the NFC Championship game, and the Cardinals.
And I may add, that was the last Cardinals championship.
Yeah.
They might have been in Chicago
47.
at the time, but the last time that franchise has won a championship was in 1947. So, yeah, it's kind of crazy because I remember when they beat the Cowboys in the late 90s with, I always forget his name. Quarterback played for ASU, but they won a playoff game in like 97 is the first time in 50 years that the Cardinals franchise had won a playoff game. But then they had some good success in the 2000s with Kurt Warner. So Kurt Warner and Fitzy,
Fitz, they killed us. They kill us every single time.
Fitzy was an Eagle killer for sure.
Absolutely, bummer. It's a bummer because he was such a great player, and we had to hate him his whole career.
Yeah. Well, then he never retired. He just didn't show up the one year. And
it's kind of weird.
Yeah, it's kind of strange. It's a shame, but
over the last 25 years, the Cardinals lead 12-8. Another bummer to see. We are on a 2-game stretch, I believe, because we won in 2017, the year we went to the Super Bowl, and then we also won last year against them. We didn't play any times in between, right?
No, we only they're in our obviously in our conference but not in our division anymore. Yeah. For those of you that don't know, the Cardinals used to be in Eagles division up until 2002. 2002, yeah. So when I lived in Arizona, I would go to one game a year to see the Eagles come into town, and it was kind of cool because the stadium would be half full, but it would be half full of Eagles fans and the half full that it was. Cardinals never sold out.
We lost to the Cardinals in 2020. I remember that now. Hurts. It was his second start, maybe third career start, 2020, when we benched Wentz.
But it had to be prior to Murray, right?
No, Murray was playing. And they had Hopkins, and they beat us 33-26. They were really good that year. We were terrible. And it was a great game. I remember, it was like, man, that was the first game that, Hurts, he had his first start against the Saints, which was really good. I think it was a week later.
Yeah, he had that good run.
Yeah. A week later, 2 weeks later, he played the Cardinals. Yeah. He had another great game.
Well, see, that's the unfortunate thing, too, because I lived in Phoenix for 37 years, and the Cardinals were just abysmal. But when I was an Eagles fan and go to the games, there was times that we would play them, and they were awful, 2-11, and we would be, 7-4 or something, and we would lose to them. The only good times they had was with Neil Lomax in the late 80s, and then throughout the 90s, they were awful, but they would beat us. It was really tough to go and have to face that.
It's like Washington. It's a team that always plays us good.
Yeah.
Last year we only beat them by 3. We beat them. Yeah. Luckily, they didn't hit a game-winning field goal or game-tying field goal.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
We won.
Yeah, we shanked the field goal.
We won because they missed the
field goal. That would have tied
it,
though, right?
It would have tied it,
but still, it shouldn't have been that close.
Did you trust us in overtime?
No,
I don't know.
And that's the thing about the Cardinals. Like I said, at the time when they were in our division, they were kind of like the Commanders are now, the Washington team, where even when they were awful, every game was never, we should blow them out on paper, but we never did. So that's why I want a blowout here. And we need to even up that series record.
We got to get closer to that.
Yeah, because that's just, for a team that hasn't won a playoff game in, 50 years and never won a Super Bowl, we got to have a better head-to-head record against them.
Dad, what's your favorite all-time Eagles-Cardinals memory?
So I really don't have a favorite. I have many favorites because I used to go to the games a lot. But the one I picked for this week was in it was October 15th, 1989. Again, we were an ascending team. We had lost to 88 to the Bears in the championship wild card game in the Fog Bowl. And, we expected to get to the Super Bowl. Randall was only a few years into it. We had that dynamic defense with Reggie and Clyde and Jerome. And I could go on and on. Eric Allen, who hopefully gets voted into this Hall of Fame here coming up.
Yep.
But anyway, we played them. It was in Arizona. So just remember now, I just said October 15th, 1989. It was 100 degrees at kickoff. So here we are, knuckleheads, sitting out in the sun at 100 degrees. And when you're in a stadium like that, there's no breeze, and it's like 115 degrees. So it was a brutal game. Again, they were, I don't know the records, but they were bad, and we were not that bad. We ended up winning 17-5. But the thing about that game is we were down 5-0. Might have been in the first half. I'm not sure exactly. But Chris Carter, who, again, every time I hear his name, I hang my head because we released him, and he ended up going to the Hall of Fame, and we only had him for 2 or 3 really good years. But, he had 2 touchdowns, but it was like 2 catches for 42 yards, 2 touchdowns. But that was the one with the famous call by Merle Reese. Chris Carter was wide open.
Yeah.
My brother will tell you about that one because we used to replay that clip all the time back in the day when you got like a 2-minute NFL highlight reel, not like today where you can watch 15 different people put out a highlight reel of the game. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But yeah, Chris Carter was wide open, but it was an amazing game. We ended up winning 17-5. I know I was at the game, and I was at the game with my brother and probably my sister and probably my dad even because he was dragging me out to the games, and we would sit in the sun, and then towards the second halftime, you would scour the stadium for that part that's starting to get in the shade, and we'd all migrate up there because it was awful. I mean, it was so hot.
Yeah.
It was terrible. But anyway, that was a good game. Let's see. I got some stats from that game. Randall was 16 for 29 for, I didn't write that yards. 200 and something yards, but he had 2 touchdowns, 3 interceptions. So for Randall, that was a great game. Tom Tupa was the quarterback.
Game for Randall.
Tom Tupa was the sorry, Bang, but Tom Tupa was the quarterback for the Cardinals. He took 6 sacks, and here's the stat for you folks. He had 6 interceptions and 6 sacks, and we won 17-5.
Yeah.
I mean, that's all you need to know about how an Eagles fan can sit in 110-degree temperatures and watch the team barely win a game on the road, on the road, and to a team that threw 6 interceptions and took 6 bad sacks too.
Well, we were watching the highlights of the game before we got up here, and it was bad.
Yeah, Tom Tupa was the quarterback at the time. But
let me just say, it tells you all you need to know about the Buddy Ryan years.
Yes.
We had 6 interceptions.
Yes.
We had 6 sacks.
Yeah.
And we won 17-5.
And we probably punted 6 times.
Let me just also say what it tells you about Randall. He threw 3 interceptions in that game. It's just hard to watch.
2 touchdowns to Chris Carter. But the other stat I have is Jerome Brown had 2.5 sacks. But I do remember a game I was telling you about too. Eagles Cardinals in Cardinal Stadium. 10, maybe 11 sacks, and we barely won that game.
Yeah.
I mean, we were just doing everything we wanted to and still couldn't blow out a team like that. It was just awful.
So here's my favorite memory. 2017, we went down to Phoenix. Oh, was it in Phoenix? No, I can't remember. I think it was it was in Philly.
Yeah.
Sorry. In 2017, the year we went to the Super Bowl, the Arizona Cardinals came up to Philadelphia for I believe just a regular morning game, or I guess afternoon game in Philly, a 1:00 game. And it was, let me see, I have the date here too. But
okay, so at the time, that was the team we played was the Phoenix Cardinals.
You're right, yes.
Yeah, at the time.
So it was October 8th, 2017, 1:00 start time at Lincoln Financial Field, and it was a 2-hour, 57-minute game. Carson Wentz threw for 4 touchdowns, 304 yards, 1 interception, which was a Hail Mary at the end of the first half type of interception. That was a game where everyone got a touchdown. Nelson Aguilar had 93 yards and a touchdown with his famous fall back in the end zone.
Oh, wow.
It was the first time he recreated the
first and last?
No, he did it again. It was the first time he recreated the Deshaun Jackson fall into the end zone.
Gotcha.
He did it again the next year against the Texans. Zach Ertz had 61 yards and a touchdown. Trey Burton had 16 yards and a touchdown. And Torrey Smith had a 59-yarder for a touchdown, 70 yards total.
Just one catch?
I think
that was Torrey Smith.
3 catches, 70 yards, 1 touchdown.
He was usually 1 for 60 for a touchdown, and Aguilar was 1 touchdown every half season.
I know. Yeah. So we ended up winning that game 34-7. It was 21-0 at the end of the first quarter.
Oh, gosh. I remember that game
21-7 for end of the first half.
Big.
31-7 end of the third quarter, and then 34-7. They didn't score it again. They scored one
big punt return by Kenyon Barner in the first quarter.
Yes.
Big punt return, almost to the 10-yard line or so.
Yes.
Yeah, it was beautiful. Ertz had that beautiful catch touchdown too in that game.
Yep, that's right.
Yeah, worth watching the highlights to that one. What was the year?
That was 2017.
Yeah, that's a good highlights run there.
In total, we had 2 sacks. Vinny Curry and Brandon Graham both had 1. I don't think we had an interception. Yeah, no interceptions or anything, but 2 sacks and a couple QB hits as well. But good game overall for the entire.
Who was the quarterback
defense
for the Cardinals?
Carson Palmer.
Okay,
Carson
he
Palmer.
was man. He was good.
It was Carson and Carson.
Too bad he got hurt.
Palmer
again.
had 291 yards. He threw 90.2
he was a heck of a player, man, until he got his knee blew out
he was
again.
That was an unfortunate player, but that was my favorite memory. Remember that was just awesome. I had a show that day. I was in college. I had a show that day.
Okay.
I think it was the same weekend of, what's it called? I'm sorry, Daylight Savings.
Oh, okay.
And so we all woke up and it was like, it was so tight. You know, it was the
you lose an hour.
The fall back.
Yeah,
fall back. So we lost an hour. And I remember it was like, and then like watching the game, I was tired. And then we had a show in an hour or two or something like that. It was kind of funny. But
very nice.
Dad, what Eagle are you most looking forward to?
Okay, well, I've heard a rumor that one of our players is coming off the 15-day, and he's going to play from what I'm hoping. So I'm going to be watching Avonte Maddox. Yep. I'm hoping he can play. Boy, if he can play and play well, hopefully he's got the pec, so that's a shoulder, that's a tackle thing. So hopefully he doesn't take any bad hits or anything like that. But yeah, I'm going to be watching for him because if he can shore up that position and some of the other kids we got out there running around, it would just be really, really nice for us. And
dude, he could turn the season around
for
the defense.
If he can solidify just that one spot, that safety spot, lock it down.
No, nickelback spot.
Well, change it. That's because I know that's what he does. He doesn't take the outside. He's kind of in the middle of the field.
He's the nickel.
We need him to kind of shore that up. Maybe help some of the young guys a little bit more than they've been getting, and that would be just perfect. So I'm looking forward to him.
He can turn the season around for the defense.
Well, he could change.
And he really could.
Yeah, but really, what we need again is just 1 or 2 interceptions. I mean, it's just been rough this whole season. Just the turnover battle has been just
brutal.
Bad.
18 in our last 10 games, right?
Yes,
18 turnovers for us.
Almost 2 or 3 every
games.
game.
Almost 2 a game. It's that's hard to do.
And we're not getting any.
Yeah, no, that's
that's the hardest part, But I mean, we could sit here all day and talk about sacks, not getting interceptions. You just got to play the game, and hopefully one of these weeks it's going to all come together. Yeah. Hey, maybe we're saving it up for the first round of the playoffs.
Hey, maybe.
I'll take that.
I'm okay with that.
I'm okay with that, yes.
Eagle I'm most looking forward to is going to be Avonte Maddox's draft buddy, Josh Sweat. Both of them drafted in 2018 and both drafted in the 4th round. Nice. Josh Sweat, he has had 1 sack in the last 8 games. We talked about that. He hasn't had a sack in 6 games since the first Dallas game.
Which was a big sack.
Oh, a huge sack. Yeah, so, 4th quarter, last 30 seconds, he had a sack. Yeah, it was great. And
it's funny because, again, we're watching the games together, and we got a lot of people with us. And, you see him getting in. You see him and the others getting in, but just not – these guys are just making the right move. It seems like we're playing Josh Allen every week. They step to the left, then we miss. Yeah. Step to the right, roll out right, the guys aren't there. So hopefully – we're hoping one of these weeks it comes together and we can do a 4 or 5 or 7 sack game.
Yeah. So with Josh Sweat, I'm looking forward to him because he actually had an interview the other day where he talked about how he's had more pressures this season than last. He's got more QB hits, more QB hurries, everything like that.
Okay.
It's just the sacks aren't coming. And,
So
sometimes that happens. What's up?
On the year, sorry. How many on the year does he have?
6.5 sacks.
Okay, so he's still, there's 2 games left. It's, it's possible he could still get up to the 10, if it all comes into place. But
I mean, it'd have to be miraculous.
But it's the worst thing that's been Reddick's been getting a sack first or second play of the game, and then we keep going. Okay, here's the game that we're going to do it. Yep. But hopefully we can do it here.
Dad, what's your matchup of the game going into this?
Well, I mean, I know the Cardinals defense is not very good at stopping the run. Again, we're back to this beating a dead horse, but now let's run the ball again. It looked great last week with Swift and Gainwell both getting carries and kind of mixing it up a little bit. I even saw once or twice. I was talking to JJ on the little chat there about it, where we saw 2 backs in the backfield. I mean, I don't know why we're not doing that more often, but 2 backs in the backfield kind of changes up everything we've been doing. Get under center, quit this shotgun nonsense. Get under center and let's do some running the ball. And get some, play action, get this stuff going again. That's what I think we need to do. And if we can just start running the ball again. Looked good last week there for a while. We were running it good and kind of hit a wall again.
My matchup of the game is going to be Eagles versus tackling because for some reason this year the Eagles as a team, they just don't know how to tackle anymore. I don't know if they just kind of lost it after the first few games. They forgot how to tackle people. And, we kind of got away with it in a few games there with, missing Dak. We weren't able to tackle Dak in the backfield or Allen or Mahomes. They got away. You mentioned it, Mahomes, Allen, they got away. Even Drew freaking Lock, last year, last week, Tyrod Taylor and Tommy DeVito, and it's just, you got to tackle.
Right.
Got to tackle.
Especially on 3rd down, guys.
Got to make a tackle.
Yeah.
These quarterbacks get away, and we're about to play the most, the best quarterback in the league at escaping from sacks.
One of them, yeah. So, he's definitely in the top 5 for sure.
I'd even go
he's
2.
Slippery.
But
the thing about Kyler Murray is, I haven't watched many Cardinals games. He's only been back maybe a month, right?
Yeah, 3 or 4 games.
3 or 4 games. I watched last week's game, I believe, with him, and he just did not look the same. So let's build on that. Let's not give the man any confidence.
Well, he's played 6 games this year.
He came back pretty strong, and he still can run. But I mean, it just seems like the coach gets mad when he runs the ball. The fans get mad when he doesn't run the ball. So let's beat him up a little bit. Let's get him. But I saw a couple where he just folded last week, kind of like Eli Manning used to do in those days, where you weren't even close to sacking him, and he would just fold, because he knew it was coming, and he's got nothing to do. So let's do that. Let's cover some of the wide receivers for more than 2 seconds, so he's got nobody to throw it to, and we can get him.
Yeah.
Hopefully our contained can work, and I mean, we need some more boosting of the confidence here for as far as Davis and Carter, who have been playing really well in the beginning of the year, and it's kind of dropped off lately.
Yeah.
I'd like to see them make a few big plays in the backfield. Now, we know that they got a good running back in Connor, so that means they have a good offensive line for running. So we need to shut that down and make them one-dimensional like last week, where the Giants could not throw the ball, and we just continually played off the ball. It was so concerning to me that we didn't just do a bunch of run blitzes, because Saquon, that's all they had there for a while, especially in the second half when Tyrod came in. You knew they weren't going to throw it. I mean, I knew they weren't going to throw it, but our defense obviously didn't, because they were still playing 10 yards off the players, which drove me nuts.
It's very hard to watch sometimes. Another matchup I do have to point out, we are going to be playing against Trey McBride, who I believe has become a top 5 tight end in the league already. He's averaging 49.5 points per game. I'm sorry, 49.5 yards per game, 10.3 yards per catch, 2 drops on the season with 93 targets. He's pretty darn good.
Not bad, yeah.
He's only got 2 touchdowns, so he hasn't been a major red zone factor. But 49 yards per game, he's their leading receiver, and that's 49 yards per game for a tight end who early on was playing with a atrocious backup quarterback, a couple atrocious backup quarterbacks, guys we'd never heard of. Well, there's games where he had, 1 catch for 4 yards, 1 catch for 2 yards, 1 catch for 5 yards. So, in the last 8 games or so, 9 games, this guy has been insane.
But in the beginning of the season, the Cardinals really had written the season off.
Oh, absolutely.
I know they talked about Murray coming back, but we were like, well, is he really going to, though?
Well, it's funny because it was
confusing. Push him early.
Because before the season, many thought this would be possibly one of the worst teams in NFL history.
Right.
I mean, that was you can look it up.
Yeah, we didn't say that.
That was the thing that people were saying the Cardinals were going to be possibly in contention for worst teams in NFL history.
Right. As far as yardage goes and points and touchdowns. Yeah. But then, of course, what was it, week 3?
Week 3, they beat the Cowboys, and it was like,
ran
what
for
the
240
heck? Of course, that
yards.
was when they still had Dobbs, who then went to Minnesota and now sucks there.
Went to Cleveland, and then, Well, that was a shame, because they were really blowing that story up, and he looked good there for 2 or 3 weeks.
No.
And then all of a sudden... And then, they didn't just shut the door. They shut the door and they set it on fire, because they just he's done for the year. And you're like, well,
you didn't even.
Okay, he had 1 or 2 bad games, and he was coming.
That was weird.
Yeah, it's strange how it's happening.
Yeah, so Trey McBride's going to be a huge
somebody to watch,
huge matchup for, and especially because our linebackers at coverage right now, not great. I mean, Cunningham's probably our best coverage linebacker, and he's really not even that great.
But
Morrow can't tackle, and Shaq Leonard.
Cunningham not in though, right?
Cunningham's playing.
Not out.
No, he's not out.
I thought he's questionable.
He's questionable,
but
Morrow's questionable too. He'll probably play. Questionable usually means they're going to play.
Well, it's
possible they don't, but
it's just every week. It's this question. I need answers. I need players to play. And I really would love Cunningham back. I mean, we kind of need him too. Because
we're gonna get to the injury report. So let me talk about the Arizona Cardinals team stats.
Sure.
So as an offense, they're 24th overall in total yards with 324 per game.
That's a lot.
Passing yards, they're 30th, 177. Rushing yards, they're 9th. They run pretty well. 1 in 29.2. We mentioned that that's kind of how they beat the Cowboys, was just running the ball to death. Points wise, they're 26th with 18 points per game.
Yeah.
Third down percentage, they're tied 16th with 38.6. I expect that number to go up to 70 after playing us. Defensively, they're one of the worst defenses in the league, but so too were the Giants last week. So, we'll see. Total yards, they're 28th. They allow 378 a game. Passing yards, only 12th. They're pretty good. They're top they're top half. They only allow 216 per game. Problem is they're 32nd in rushing defense. They allow 147 yards a game.
So let me stop you there real quick. You throw for 219 yards a game. That kind of tells me that you're down by 14 and the other team's running the ball.
Yeah.
I mean, that's how it's supposed to work.
And then points-wise, they're 31st. They let up 26.9 points per game. And then third down percentage, they are the worst now. I guess we're not anymore.
We're close.
At third down percentage, they're 32nd at 47.3. I really do need to check and see where we're at now. We have to be 31st, maybe 30th. We're 30th. Okay.
Yeah. Okay.
I wonder who 31st is.
We're moving up.
I got to figure that out.
That's good. We're moving up.
Yeah, we're moving up in the world, right? Some roster changes that happened this week. Devin Allen, we went to IR. Kind of a bummer to see. It feels like it's one of those practice squad IR phantoms. We need to clear up a spot, which is a bummer because that means that we're probably keeping Quez Watkins on the roster, which to me, it's time to shut him down on IR for the season. And I wanted to see if Devin Allen maybe he's the next guy.
Get a catch.
Devin Allen, you're now in. They used Covey last week finally.
Hey, man, that was good. And 7 yards, we'll take it.
I'll take it. It was a new look. It was a new weapon. It's all about creating a new weapon. You make the defense go, oh, we got to
who's got him?
that guy now? Why do you think I've said it on the podcast 1,000 times?
Yes.
The Niners, the Cowboys, the Bills, the Chiefs. Oh, the Chiefs not so much this year, but usually.
Right.
Why do you think they're so good? Well, because they have these two main guys, but then they also have this guy. And then behind him there's this guy who, he's not a number one receiver, but he'll get you he can get 50 yards and a touchdown in the game because
he's thrown to 8 receivers in the first quarter. And you're like, 8 receivers, we only have 2 on the roster, for goodness sakes. Yeah.
So Devin Allen's gone
for sure.
IR. We signed Griffin Hebert as a wide receiver, I believe, to the practice squad.
I'm sure.
Not that big of a name. I don't think we see any future there. As far as the injury report goes, one big guy not playing is, of course, Slay. He's still out with his knee injury. We expect to see him out kind of for the regular season, possibly back for the postseason. Limited participants, Zach Cunningham with his knee. He's questionable. Nicholas Morrow, abdomen questionable, and Albert O was questionable, but Albert, he's not. Yeah, stop, turn it off.
Right, agreed.
I mean, Albert O, I blame him now for the Christian Ellis thing. We don't have Christian Ellis back,
right?
And I'm kind of bummed about that.
I agree.
I wanted him on this team. He was a great special teamer. He had potential to be a good linebacker. Not a great. I'm not going to say, we lost he could have been an All-Pro. Yeah. No, but he could have been a really good role-playing, linebacker, and now he's gone because Albert O couldn't have been cut. No one would have signed him.
Right, or put him on a practice squad, or maybe we didn't have the time. Sometimes you can't do that. But, that's the thing that gets me, too. It just seems like this roster has been mishandled, too. I keep saying, where's Rashad Penny? If he's not sitting on the sidelines, and he's not active, I don't want to hear that. He's on the right. He's taking a space. There's got to be some guy on our practice squad that can make a tackle in the kickoff game or something, but they just refuse to. And what's he got? 2 carries and 1 reception in the whole season. We're in week 17, right? I mean,
he has a catch.
I believe he does. I read he had 1 for 5 or something.
I don't remember.
I saw it. He had two rushes and 1 catch.
You're right. 1 catch for 5 yards.
Thank you very much.
So Covey has
I
more
do my
yards.
Homework, buddy.
Covey has more yards receiving than he does. 1 for 7.
But that's nuts.
Penny.
We used him 3 times the whole season. And
5 rushes.
Here's a guy we talked about in the beginning of the year. And, we're going to bring him in this week, maybe in Britain this week, maybe, And it's a shame because Boston Scott, after last week's highlight film, I don't know what's going to happen there, but I'm still a big Boston Scott guy.
Not a good look for both him and Zacchaeus.
Just bad. That was just so bad. It was a game, almost a game turner, but
I mean, it was a game.
We won.
Full participants, Landon Dickerson with his thumb. He's going to be back.
That's good.
Avonte Maddox, we mentioned, he's going to be back. That's going to be huge.
Yeah, huge.
Next thing I got a little surprise. I didn't tell my dad about this, and so this will kind of be a stun. We might take a second to think about it, but Dad, I was thinking about it the other day because of all this stuff with Eric Allen possibly going to the Hall of Fame.
Hall of Fame,
He's one of
baby.
the finalists for the Hall of Fame, which is way too late, as we as Eagles fans all know. It's 20 years too late. I don't know if 20 years, but it's too late.
No, it's been
Who is your all-time starting secondary for the Eagles? All-time starting secondary. So 2 corners, 2 safeties. I'm not going to go nickel.
Okay, well,
so
Andre
corners.
Waters.
Okay, at safety?
Yes.
Okay.
And then, of course, Weapon X.
Okay, good.
Okay. And let's see, we've got, as corners, I would probably go, Eric Allen.
Yeah,
that's kind of, I love that
That's
guy,
the obvious one, Eric Allen.
It sucked when in 93 came around when all the players were allowed to finally go free agent, which kind of a bummer because I remember those days, and I know I'm not blowing you off, but I'm just saying a little story here. When the NFL finally allowed free agency back in those days, 30 years ago, I was kind of for it, right? Well, then we lost Keith Jackson, Reggie White. He was one of the first to go. Then Eric Allen jumped ship. And it was like, wait a minute, maybe I'm not so happy with this setup because Eric Allen left this and went to the Raiders, I believe. And then he ended up going somewhere else too. And he was great with the Raiders for a couple of years. And I just hated to see that. But let's see, I would probably go one of the guys we got in the early 2000s. I always forget their names. We had 2 of them. Remember
Sheldon
Brown, and
Lito Shepherd.
Lito probably because he was more of an interception return guy.
Yeah.
But I mean, you probably got some guys out there, Bill Bradley, from the '60s and things like that. But in my lifetime, in my fandom, those were the guys that I remember the most. So B-Doc, and Andre Waters, they were just super hitter safeties.
Yeah.
You don't really see that anymore, but you get a fine anyway nowadays. Yeah, it's a shame.
I mean, Sidney Brown might be, but he can't do it.
Well, he's got to learn.
Here's how I've got. So I got left corner, right corner, it doesn't matter. But corner, Eric Allen.
Okay.
I have other corner, Lito Shepherd. So the same
great.
there.
Yep.
Honorable mention, Troy Vincent. It was kind of hard for me to
big interception guy.
Hard for me to choose between those
and
two.
a great pickup, like a big steal from another team.
I also thought of Asante Samuel. Now, the problem with him is he wasn't with us long enough really to be on that list. But he's also
some big plays in the early 2000s.
He's probably got more picks than both of those guys.
Yeah, it's true though.
But at safety, we've got the same thing as Brian Dawkins. So we've got 3 of 4.
Right.
I got the same corners. I got Brian Dawkins. And then I'm a little bit more recency bias.
Right.
I got Malcolm Jenkins at safety.
Okay. Well, he's a Super Bowl winner. So,
yes.
And Andre Waters was just a phenomenal hitter.
Yeah. Now, I know the thing about Malcolm, I know a lot of people might say, oh, but they're both free safeties or strong. I don't care about that. I'm talking safeties, I'm talking corners.
Yeah.
I go Malcolm Jenkins really because of his, how shall I say, iron. He was an Iron Man. Is that the word for it?
Yeah.
An Iron Man.
Never missed a game. Right.
He played every single snap one season, every snap on defense and every snap on special teams.
Right.
The entire season, he played every defensive and special team snap on the team. Like
that's amazing.
That was unbelievable, and that was in not when he was a second-year player.
Right.
It was in his last 2-3 years.
Yeah.
He just had. Yeah. He was a tough guy. He was just amazing for us. Really
great free agent pickup for us. I mean, that was amazing.
Top 3 Eagles safety ever. There's really no debating that. And for me, he's top 2.
so no Oshenwall on your list there?
Who?
Oshenwall Amde.
Oh god.
Big free agent signing.
Corner.
My goodness
that
gracious.
That really was bummer. And then what I want to say about safety, honorable mention, yes, Andre Waters, and then Bobby Taylor. No, Bobby Taylor was a corner.
He was good too, man.
Sorry, then never mind.
Yeah, he was a good player too.
So then other safeties.
There were some good. Philly Eagles have had some great safeties. We've always been kind of lacking, I think, in the linebacker. We've had some great linebackers, but
you are right.
It's been like 30 years, and we've always had that guy we wanted. Kendricks was a great linebacker for us, but didn't last long. And then Hicks was great, and he didn't.
Injuries.
We had to get rid of him. And then he ended up playing great down in Arizona.
And Minnesota now.
But in the Bill Berge, things like that, we had guys. Seth Joyner, who was my favorites.
We're talking. If we're talking the top 3 linebackers Eagles ever, we're going. Which another list we can do one day. Right. You're talking Bill Berge, Jeremiah Trotter, and who you said Clyde Simmons.
Yes.
And after that, are we talking about?
Yeah. Well, Clyde was more of
Michael Kendricks.
Kendricks, Hicks. I know we had some. What was his name?
Nigel Bradham.
D'Amico Ryans was great for us for just a couple of years.
He's a great coach too.
He was great for us, and
Nigel Bradham was great.
Nigel Bradham was great.
Was awesome. Man.
And when we had a couple guys that Stuart Bradley was good for maybe half a season, and then he got injured.
Yeah,
he ended up flourishing kind of out in Arizona, but
Damn it,
linebacker. Yeah, linebacker kind of that position where we let TJ walk last year, and boy, we really could have used him this year. It's kind of like don't look over somebody who's okay when you don't have anybody to finish or fill in for him.
Linebacker is one of the biggest positions that I feel like, and I don't have the history or the to back this up,
right?
But it feels like linebacker has always been one of those positions that's like the biggest, where they start with a team and then they go somewhere else and they're great. You know what I mean? Like linebackers, it feels like they're the least likely to be great with their team. They always go somewhere else and they're great. Yeah. I don't have any evidence to support that right now, but it just feels like that's one of those positions where the greats are always on their second team.
Right.
You know what I mean? It's true. Kind of, I don't know. It just feels like that. I don't know.
I just think you need to draft a linebacker. You can't just overlook the fact that we don't have one. We tried. I can't say we didn't try the last 2 years, We did bring in some, Sean Bradley and a couple of the other guys that.
Well, but those were just 6th round picks.
Right.
TJ Edwards was an undrafted free agent.
Yeah. That seems to be the key too sometimes.
True.
But,
yeah.
We just need that's something in this year's coming draft. I know we're way off that.
Jeremiah Trotter Jr.
I would sell the farm to get that guy. Man.
Love to have that guy, man.
For
Clemson,
sure.
He's just been amazing.
I watched him. He makes plays.
Yeah. He's a ball hawk. He's just around the ball all the time.
That's where your good linebackers
fumble
are.
recoveries, interceptions, just sacks. He's always around the ball.
Yeah, that's the guy you want.
In some other news, 76ers, they are 22-9 starting off the season. When they were 21-9, that was their best start through 30 games since 2000-2001 season when they went to the finals and lost.
Yeah, I remember.
They won 2 in a row without Embiid. He's been a little bit injured right now. I think mostly with his knee. He's had knee issues forever. It's a bummer to watch, but hopefully get him back pretty soon, healthy and rested. Maxey, he dropped 42 points last night against Houston. They play tonight against Chicago at 6 o'clock. We'll be busy watching that Cowboys-Lions game, I think.
Who do we cheer for?
Maybe not. I can't. It's funny. I know.
I know who I cheer for.
People are always, people are saying, well, the Eagles fans have to cheer for the Cowboys fans.
No.
I don't have to do anything I don't want to do. Now, I know it's funny because they said, well, it'll help us get the second seed. I'm like, do you really think the second seed is going to help this team? I really don't think it's. I know it's an extra home game.
Yeah.
Maybe, depending on who wins.
Maybe.
But I don't think it's that big of a. It's just not that big of a deal.
Well,
right?
for us,
I need to win the NFC East.
For us this year, I don't think it matters. We just need to get
in the playoffs.
We need to win the East.
We need to win the East.
That's our goal.
I'm not going in as a wild card. We got to win the East.
Yeah. Stop looking
That's
forward.
why I want Detroit to win because if Detroit wins tonight and we win tomorrow, we have the East.
I think we can beat Detroit, so I don't care.
I'm not as worried about that.
I don't
You're
care.
right. Not as worried about that one.
Nope.
Flyers, they lost an OT, a bummer last night. Before the game, I don't know about it now, how much it's changed, but before that game, they had a 77.7% chance of making the playoffs, so that's pretty awesome looking forward. Looks like they're definitely, not definitely, of course, but looks like they're on their way to being in the playoffs this year, which is great to see because, I don't really know much about Flyers history. It's hockey's kind of my last sport that I care about. So I don't know. I don't know how long it's been since they made the playoffs. I really don't know the last. I don't know much about that, how long it's been or what so. But they're looking good and they're playing well and they're getting points. So that's cool to see. Penn State lost today in the Peach Bowl.
Looked bad.
Bummer.
Awful. Looked terrible.
Just the other team was better. That's really all you can say. The Ole Miss was better, way better. Yeah. I tried watching. I was at work, so I couldn't really keep track of it.
Right.
I tried watching, but it just felt like the defense. It just felt like couldn't get off the field. Every time I'd look, I'd see, they scored a touchdown.
Yeah.
They scored a field goal. They scored it. And I'm just like, man, what? Getting down there every time.
So I put it on for a little minute. I was supposed to meet somebody down to watch the game, but I couldn't make it today. So sorry, Steve-O, but we were running around. We just got back from Phoenix last night. So
yeah, they got back from Phoenix like 9 o'clock last night.
Kind of a quick trip. Drove 12 hours. So
yeah.
But anyway, every time I put it on too, and at one point they showed a little highlight reel, and it was kind of early on. And all I saw was the other team's coach celebrating touchdowns, and I went, well, this can't be a good thing.
Yeah.
It was like 38-17 at the time, or 33-17, and it didn't look good. So, but
I think in the half it was 20-17. It was kind of like looking like a good game.
I did hear that. Yeah, but the second half they just.
Yeah.
I read a couple Twitter feeds too.
Okay.
People were like, it looks like they gave up, and it's a bummer. But
it's a good first season for Drew Aller. He's a 5-star recruit, and then. I think there's some commitments that are big deals next year. People are thinking that this is going to be the best Penn State team in the last 10, 15 years. It's going to be the best team James Franklin has had as the head coach.
Let's go beat Ohio State and
I think
Michigan.
they've got like 5 stars in the first time they've got like a quarterback who's a 5-star, running back 5-star, and wide receivers that are 5-star in a long time. I don't know. Again, Penn State's another one of those things. It's like the Flyers. Yes, I pay attention and I follow and I'll watch if it's there, but I'm not like remember back in
the day.
Remember 2011 when the Penn State did? I couldn't tell you. I'm sorry.
And if they get a 5-star quarterback, the
Eagles in 2011, I can tell you.
So many years with Penn State, they got a running quarterback who can barely throw the ball.
Trace McSorley.
Then we've had some good wide receivers in a few years, but then you're going to another quarterback and a 2-quarterback thing, and
it's some great linebackers there that I hate now.
Yeah.
In Micah Parsons, but all right.
Yeah, unfortunately.
Anything else for you, Dad?
Yeah, I do have a few things here. I got some couple Christmas gifts here up on the wall that you can see. Some new stuff that we have up on the wall.
Yeah.
We took some of the Christmas decorations down. The lights are staying on, though.
Oh, yeah.
And, of course, we still have our Papali jersey there from Mike Roman, which is just blowing the doors off. We're so happy to see it. So,
thank you so much.
Other than that, just Happy New Year to everyone, and I hope we see you tomorrow morning at Frankie's.
That's right.
We'll be there about 10:30, 10:15.
Yep.
Starting the party early, and hopefully we can have a really good time right before New Year's.
Absolutely. All right. Well, you can follow us on Facebook, Instagram, or Twitter. If you like our Eagles Therapy podcast, do us a favor, rate and subscribe wherever you get your podcasts. If you're watching on YouTube, please like and subscribe. And remember, if you're driving around or you want to listen to the podcast and you can't watch it on YouTube, if you got Spotify or Apple Podcasts or anything like that, we're on it. You can email us any questions at oureaglestherapy@gmail.com. Or if you're not shy, you can comment below on the video on YouTube. Let us know what you like. Let us know what you don't like. If you're a Eagles fan, give us a shout out, give us some love. If you're not an Eagles fan, give us some hate. We love to take it. But other than that, from all of us here at Our Eagles Therapy Podcast, I'm Basil.
And I'm Baz.
Go Birds.
Fly, Eagles, fly.